I thought I would chuck out some of the clever ideas and sneak in more chants. Does that sound okay? This is by my friend Richard. It's the words of Rilke. Fear not the pain, fear not the pain. And there's no words, sorry, you just have to listen. Let his weight fall back into the earth. So fear not the pain, let its weight fall back into the earth. For heavy are the mountains, heavy the seas. This earth can hold your grief. This earth has seen your fear before. This earth can hold you. That's my words, that's not Rilke. Fear not the pain. Fear not the pain. Let its weight fall back into the earth. You want to try that with me? Fear not the pain. Fear not the pain. Let its weight fall back into the earth. For heavy are the mountains, heavy the seas. And I'm going to put that up because I hear you down in your boots struggling. For heavy are the mountains, heavy the seas. For heavy are the mountains, heavy the seas. Fear not the pain, fear not the pain. Let its weight fall back into the earth. Fear not the pain, fear not the pain. Let its weight fall back into the earth. For heavy are the mountains, heavy the seas. And heavy are the mountains, heavy the seas. Isn't that beautiful? John O'Donoghue, the wonderful late Irish poet, would say that in the clay of our body, remember we're Adam and Eve, and Adam means clay, and Eve means breathing. Right, so in the earth which is unknown to us in our bodies, there's a deep praying going on, whether we know it or not. Within us and within the earth, there's a deep kind of praying happening all the time. I love that idea. I love that idea. So I'm going to lean in that because we're almost at Halloween. The Celtic name for Halloween is Samhain, which actually is Gaelic for November. So it's, and Halloween is the day before the eve of All Hallows Day, which was the 1st of November, All Saints Day. All the hallowed ones, which I think is kind of more than just people with their official Vatican driving license. I borrowed that one from David White. It's time for another song. Japanese Bowl. This is the best short song ever. Blink and you'll miss it. It's by Peter Mayer. And he writes music for the Unitarian, so I can see at least one Unitarian in the house. Welcome. And it's, I want to talk about this process. How do we tap into this deep praying that's happening in the earth of our bodies? That vitality of the stardust that has been made into form for a period of time that we think is us. I'm like one of those Japanese bowls that were made long ago. I have some cracks in me, and they have been filled with gold. That's what they used back then, when they had a bowl to mend, and they did not hide the cracks. It made them shine instead. So now every old scar shows from every time I broke and anyone's eyes can see I'm not what I used to be. But in the collector's mind, all of these jagged lines make me more beautiful and worth a much higher price. I'm like one of those Japanese bowls I was made long ago. I have some cracks you can see. See how they shine of gold. What an amazing song about an amazing thing. Do you all know what kintsugi is? Where the Japanese will take a broken bowl and they'll piece it together with actually lacquer from the tree, and then they'll sprinkle gold dust on it. And it's just, the bowl becomes even more precious than it ever was before it was broken. It's a beautiful example of redemption, or whatever language you have for that. Healing. You're awfully quiet. It's time for me to be a little bit more quiet too, perhaps. I asked Reverend Pam if she thought that you would like this following reading, and she said yes. It's by Rainer Maria Rilke. And I think it is a guiding principle. It was a guiding principle to me when I was lost for a couple of years. Well, a couple is too few. For many years in grief, I found this reading helpful. But now in the collective, as I look out at the cruelty that is in control, I think about this reading also, because how am I to respond? How am I to be love? Rilke wrote, he was German, lived about 100 years ago. Be patient towards all that is unsolved in your heart, and try to love the questions themselves. Try to love the questions, like locked rooms and like books that are now written in a very foreign tongue. Do not seek the answers which cannot be given to you yet, because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything, to live the questions now. Perhaps you will then gradually, without noticing it, live along some distant day into the answer. Now this is so true for grief. Oh, well, it's only been a year, I'm going to get over this. What? Grief takes the time that it takes. You know that beatitude, that third beatitude? I'm going to talk about the first one later. Maybe, I'm probably going to wander off my notes. But the third beatitude, I think it is, blessed are those who mourn. Neil Douglas Cloch, I don't know how to pronounce his name, he lives in Edinburgh, American guy, studies Aramaic, right? And he presents an Aramaic understanding of that third beatitude, blessed are those who mourn. Blessed are you when you mourn. You will receive the love your heart longs for in a new form. And he goes on to talk about how that calling of the heart is part of what pulls that love that you knew, that you experienced into your life. I want to say it takes a long time to master kintsugi, that Japanese art. It takes a long time to heal. And actually, we can't just respond in a moment with a new economic system, new government, it takes a while for God to have her way with us, for us to be open. Right? And one of my favorite quotes, used to say it all the time, you will have heard me say this if you used to come here when I was here. Einstein said, the answers to our problems are not found at the same level of thinking that created the problems in the first place. I've been thinking about that with consciousness. The answer to our problems is not found at the same level of consciousness that creates the problems to begin with. Yogananda people are nodding, must be on the right path. Always trust Yogananda. If in doubt, go to Yogananda. And I really think that language of prayer, I've been studying some of the great saints and mystics of our time, and their embracing of prayer, which is such the soul food of this congregation, right, is a transformative consciousness. It's not just a way of sending out love. Everything you send out comes back to you. But it doesn't just come back to you, it changes you. Just like when you love somebody, when you really love somebody, you are changed by them. Prayer is, I think of it as a closeness to God, where we get out of this or that very clever mind. I've never had the most clever mind, so I like to dive into the music and dive into the soul. But some of you are very clever, and that can be a problem. I recommend flunking out of school. And then years later, going to seminary. Yeah, anyway, I want to talk about Samhain. Actually, Pam wanted me to talk about Samhain. Samhain is this cross-quarter day. It's a very prayerful, holy moment in the year. And I think this is a very holy year. It's a disastrous year, but it's also a very holy year. Has anybody else noticed that their intuition is quickening? Their spiritual stuff is changing? Yeah, something is happening. It's not just volcanoes and earthquakes. We are shifting and changing too. And in the growing year, we Celts, I'm from Scotland, by the way, that's why I speak funny. In the growing year, we long ago, we know that they honored this as holy because they built these underground passages where the light shines through the passage, and some of the passages are extremely long. Like I climbed through one in Orkney that was probably between where I am and... Geraldine, can you put your hand up? I had to crouch that way through a 1 meter passage. And on the summer and the winter solstice, the sun comes through and hits a stone at the back wall. I wasn't there on those special days. I was just a tourist. But there's other of these passages in Ireland. I don't know of them in Scotland, but in Ireland that line up with also the equinoxes and the cross-quarter days. So the cross-quarter days are actually the high holy for us Druidy people. They are halfway between the solstice and the equinoxes. And on the 31st to the 1st, it's a period of time. I mean, yes, there is a moment where the sun, we've got astrologers in their house. Yes, there are precise moments, but it's also a period of time. That's why it's Samhain, November. It's not just 1st of November. Our calendar is not very big enough to actually hold the cosmos and the movement of the cosmos anyway. So this particular time is the new Celtic year. Samhain is the new Celtic year. Everything starts in earth-based religions the night before as it's getting dark. Think about Judaism and Shabbat. Right? It's not just Jews that know that. Lots of earth people knew that the start is in the darkness. And likewise, the start of the growing year is when everything begins to die. Now, you're a little bit sheltered here, but in Vermont, where I live now, we've already had our first frost. Everything in the garden is past, except for the kale, which I don't know why. It seems to be a bit of a... just keeps going. You can dig it out the snow and still eat it. Thank God for kale. That's the start. The place of decay and death is holy, and it's revered. And we in our modern culture, we clinicalify death, and we try and make grief last as little time as possible, and we pretend that we're not going to die. I can't wait to die. Well, not actually the dying process, but like if I'm wrong, there's just nothing going to happen. And if I'm right, it's going to be great. There's too many near-death experiences. I'm just so excited. Yeah. But I'm going to stay here. I'm going to try and stay here for as long as possible. Don't you worry. I don't believe in martyrdom. No, that's not my thing. So I would say that Halloween, Samhain, is the most holy of all the days in the Celtic calendar. And that I feel that this year, 2025, I'm inspired by this giant rock called Three-Eye Atlas. Right? So there's this big giant rock, like traveling parallel to the Earth that's come from billions of years ago. Nobody knows what it is. A lot of people are saying it's a spaceship with aliens that are going to come and kill us. I think that's unlikely. I think that's very unlikely. I think it's a beautiful piece of rock. Rock has consciousness traveling through, and it's in the dark. It's on the other side of the sun. We can't see it. Which reminds me of Mary and why is she a virgin? Well, yeah, that's a good question. Why is she a virgin if she's having a baby, right? But the symbolism of that, creating the emptiness, saying yes to the holy, and creating the spaciousness within our body for the Christ consciousness to grow is beautiful. And Halloween very much is a time where you slow down. The hearth fires, you go in. It's a time for creativity. It's a time for not doing. And I think for us to find the answers to our economic problems, to our cruelty that is in control all over the world, not everywhere, but there's a lot of fearful thinking that is getting caught up in good people who are frightened and choosing they're being corrupted into a violent way of being that is not inclusive. It's not inclusive religiously. It's not inclusive gender-wise. It's not inclusive of gay people or immigrants. And it is very racist. And it's present. How are we as individuals, every single one of us, going to respond in 2026? I've been pondering about this all year. You probably have too. And one of the things is I don't know what to do. Except for I do. I know that I stay closer to home. I know that I spend more time listening to the wind. I'm closer to the earth. I am kinder to my neighbors. I look out a little bit more for the homeless people. And if I can do anything for the immigrants on the farms, I will. We know, but we also don't know. And I think part of how it feels like we're on the cusp with all those frogs, and I'm getting very political here, but it feels like we're on the cusp of finding anew, right? But it's time for us, prayer and resting in all that is unfolding and not listening to fear is really important. And that's kind of one of the reasons that you have a picnic on the grave with your dead ones. Does anybody do that? I've never done that. The Day of the Dead stuff. Anybody in the room? Yeah, is it joyful? I imagine it is, yeah. Anything you want to say about it? Because maybe it's what a weird thing to go and have a picnic on your ancestor's grave. And do you take alcohol and wine? What do you do? Oh, nice. Well, in our house, I've got this in my notes. I'm really ignoring all my notes. We have an ancestor meal every year on Samhain, right? Lyndon and I do, and we invite around the table our family members who've died, like her mum who died in COVID. But we also invite to the table in our mind, right, our loved ones who've passed that year, including pets, and we talk about them. And sometimes we make a little altar, but we always have whiskey. Always have whiskey. And we take that blessing out, and there's a spring where I live, a holy spring, and we make a little plate for the energy of the earth, for that blessing also. And ask the ancestors, the indigenous ancestors, as well as the white people ancestors who lived on that land, perhaps still do in their own way, for a blessing. And we also think about, can we be a blessing for those who came before, rather than be the generation that fucks it up? Can we be a blessing to our ancestors? We're so frightened for the future that we're not opening to the wisdom which is we don't understand in the stars, in us, in our bones. Our bones are stardust. and the wisdom that's in the earth. We're not abandoned on an alien world. Now, I need to bring this one in. Claudia, I'm so glad you're here, because Tom, I remembered this afterwards. Tom asked for this to be his funeral, and I forgot to tell Cedar. I never wanted to be born. The older I grew, the fonder I became of my mother's womb and its warmth and its safety. I feared the unknown, the next world, about which I knew nothing, but imagined the worst. Yet, as I grew older, I sensed in my soul that the womb was not my home forever. Though I did not know when, I felt sure that one day I would disappear through a door which had yet to be opened and confront the unknown of which I was afraid. And then it happened. In blood and tears and pain, it happened. I was cut off from the familiar. I left my life behind and discovered not darkness, but light. Not hostility, but love. Not eternal separation, but hands that wanted to hold me. I never wanted to be born. Now, I don't want to die. The older I grow, the fonder I become of this world and its warmth and its safety. I fear the unknown, the next world, about which I know nothing, but imagine the worst. Yeah, as I grow older, I sense in my soul that this world is not my home forever. Though I do not know when, I feel that one day I will disappear through a door that is yet to be opened. Perhaps, having come so safely through the first door, I should not fear so hopelessly the second. It is time for us to embrace the unknown, where I believe that our beloved dead dwell and are helping us. Now, you might not believe that. You might just believe in yoga and meditation. You don't have to believe in the dead to know that this uncreated stillness in us is where our genius comes from. There is a spaciousness. It's the spaces in music that makes music good. If it was just notes, it'd be a cacophony. And John O'Donohue talks about how oppressively, and maybe I've got this written in here somewhere. I'm dyslexic, so it's really hard to me. I found it. He talks about entering into our silence to find within us the solitude of the wise counselor. There's something in our soul waiting to greet us if we shut up and still down and enter into the warm hearth of our soul. He says silence is one of the great victims of our modern culture. We live in an intensely visually aggressive age. He died in 2008, right? So maybe Facebook was around, but that whole kind of intense image stuff that we live, he didn't even experience. He says, we live in an intensely visually aggressive age where the surface of our mind is continually seduced by the power of images. So let me ask you, what can you do this Samhain to drop deep into your soul? Shout out some things that you might want to do. I'll give you one. Knitting. What? You're a knitter? Come on, shout them out. What can you do to drop into your soul? You've all got different things you do. Singing, of course. Walking in the woods, yes, of course. With your dog, maybe even. Petting a dog. Is there no pets here today? Simon was coming and there's no pets. Okay, you are, yeah. Pet with a microphone. Any other things that you can do? Sleeping, absolutely. There's such a thing called the nap ministry. Look it up online, the nap ministry. Watching the sunrise. Absolutely. While petting your cat. Have you got a good view? I mean, the whole time I knew you never came over. That's just wrong, isn't it? Yeah. It's not like you didn't invite me. What about a beautiful meal? Or making love? Or entering, I've got this one at my home, I'm so lucky, entering into a hot tub. And not filling the mind with the stuff it's been thinking about all day on repeat. Enough with that. These times are too urgent. All right, I've talked a lot. I'm going to get to that first beatitude first, because it's important, because we can lose hope. We can lose hope about the fact that many people are not valuing inclusion, diversity, spiritual freedom, truth. Many, many more people do value those things. And the Beatitudes, Jesus' core teachings, teach us that God is very present when things are wrong. When we are kind of settled in our own life and doing our thing, we're quite self-contained. The first beatitude is this: how blessed are the poor in spirit, the kingdom of heaven is theirs. Now, I always thought, what does that mean? So I looked up the Bible in everyday language. It's called The Message by Eugene Peterson, and he says it this way, which I love. You're blessed when you're at the end of your rope. With less of you, there's more of God and God's rule. You're blessed when you're at the end of your rope. With less of you, there's more of God and God's rule. I think that's true. We can be really great humans when we are thriving and things are good. But there's something about the cracks in us, the kintsugi, is how the light that is deeper than our personality, much cleverer than your carpentry or whatever it is you do. You know, I know this as a songwriter because it comes out through the songs. Like there's a meditative state that the chords create. It's always the chords first, or the piano. Any other songwriters in the room? Yeah. Oh yeah, of course there are. Yeah. Wannabe. Well, great. So this is my way of doing it. I enter into the flow, the divine flow. If you think about the Celtic knotwork flow on all the crosses, it's there for a reason. There's a divine flow. How do we tap into it? How do we get into that living water? Well, one of the ways is to shut up the monkey mind. Rumi said, silence is not the absence of sound, it's the absence of the small self. Silence is not the absence of sound. It's the absence of the small self. But it can be quite hard to drop into that. And music can be extremely helpful. And you don't need to play it. You can just buy one of those CDs back there or somebody else's music. And then sometimes amazing things come out my fingers or out my mouth. And I'm like, oh. And I'm amazed at it because I don't think I wrote it. And sometimes even I don't get it. I'm too in my head. I'm too trying to be clever. And I get it in a dream. You know that line from Canticle, praise be to you, my Lord, you are sister death, first and last breath. The key unlocking all we are. There we are. I'm not clever enough to write that. Maybe it was St. Francis. I think it was God. I received that last bit in a dream. But I'd already created the flow state. I'd already given my best as a songwriter to the rest of the song. Right? When we align with the holy, amazing things can happen. And it's frightening times. Many of us are frightened. I am. So I've got the bookmark prayer that I'm going to close with. I could talk here all day, but you good people have lives. Pam, don't let Simon come back. He was here for 3 hours and he wouldn't shut up. It is the first time. I can't believe Pam's not here. Where is she? Is she in England? Oh. So, this is a prayer tweaked by me, but written by one of the best mystics ever. Teresa of Avila. She lived 500 years ago in Spain. She survived the Spanish Inquisition even though her grandparents were Jewish, and even though she was a powerful woman, and even though she would levitate when she was praying. There's somewhere in her writing she says to the sisters, if I start to lift, just pull me down by my robes. I don't want anybody to notice. Wow. So, of course, that got the attention of the Spanish Inquisition. And they forced her to document her whole life, every spiritual experience. And that book is really, it's called The Book of My Life. It's really fascinating. She wrote it so that she could not be burnt at the stake. But it's there for the rest of us, and she says all sorts of hilarious things. Like she urges us in our spiritual practice to not just stay where we're comfortable, because don't progress at the rate of a chicken. Get out of what's comfortable. She's very funny. And these are her words. I think you've got them. Have you got them? Let nothing disturb you. Let nothing frighten you. Everything changes. I alone remain. Hold patience, for nothing is wasted. Presence in all things. I'm with you in all things. Let nothing disturb you. Let nothing frighten you. Everything changes. I alone remain. Hold patience, for nothing is wasted. Presence in all things. I'm with you in all things. Let nothing disturb you. Let nothing frighten you. Everything changes. I alone remain. Hold patience, for nothing is wasted. Presence in all things. I'm with you in all things. Let nothing disturb you. Let nothing frighten you. Everything changes. I alone remain. Hold patience, for nothing is wasted. Presence in all things. I'm with you in all things. I found that very valuable prayer. So if you like it, please go on my website and listen to it. It can be a great companion. I don't feel like I wrote that. That's one of the ones that came through. Well, I really didn't, because it was Teresa of Avila. I changed presence in all things. Her original was those who have God, to those who have God, all things are possible. She was talking to nuns and monks that were not owning mortgages and iPhones. And I was like, I'm not really into this prosperity gospel stuff, so I changed it a little bit for us in 2020, whatever year it was.